Hello everyone, welcome to African News and Gist. I am Iyore and I am so happy that you're here today. Today, what we're going to be talking about is the new US travel restrictions that now has an update, and the update is quite confusing online. So my aim here today, the sole objective of this video, is to bring clarity to what exactly the changes are that US just implemented. First of all, yes, this news is real. The United States has introduced a new rule that allows people for some African countries that were previously under full or partial US travel restrictions to still apply for a B1/B2 visitor or business visa, but with new conditions attached. So this does not apply to student visas, work visas, or immigration visas. This restriction is strictly for short-term visits like tourism, business meetings, family visits, or medical trips. Here is the key change that you need to be aware of. If you go for your US visa interview and the US consular officer decides to approve your visa, they may now ask you to pay a refundable visa bond before the visa is finally issued. This bond is basically a security deposit. It is the money that you have to pay to prove that you will obey US visa rules and leave the country when your visit is over. The amount that you have to pay for this security deposit or bond is basically the decision of the consular officer that interviews you when you go for your visa interview. Some people may be asked to pay 5,000, others 10, and others 15. Again, it is basically the decision of the consular officer that interviews you. That person has the right to decide how much they think you should pay as a security deposit. And one thing that I want to stress out as well is that this 5,000 or 10,000 or maybe 15,000 is per person. So if you're a family of 4, for instance, the 4 of you will be instructed to pay 5,000 each, or 10,000 each, or 15,000 each, depending on the amount that the consular officer thinks that you guys have to pay. So if you're a family of 4 and they ask you to pay 15,000, for instance, 15,000 US dollars, it will be 15,000 US dollars times 4. Okay, all right. If you are told to pay a bond, the embassy or the consulate will give you an official payment link through pay.gov, which is the US government payment platform. Please listen carefully to this part. Do not pay anyone else. Do not pay agents, friends, travel consultants, or anyone claiming that they can help you pay. If the payment link does not come directly from the US embassy or consulate, it is definitely a scam. You will also be asked to complete Form 1352, which is the official US government form for posting a bond. You do not fill out this form unless the consular officer specifically tells you to do so. Now, let's talk about entry into the United States. This is also a major change that has happened. Now, with these new conditions, you are only allowed to arrive in the US using just 3 airports. Okay, just 3. These are the Boston Logan International Airport, John F. Kennedy Airport in New York, and those international airports near Washington, D.C. If your final destination is another city, you will first land at one of these airports, clear immigration there, and then take a connecting flight to your final destination. Because of this, it is important not to book tight connections. Immigration checks may take longer, and you do not want to miss your connecting flight. Now let's talk about how you can get your bond money back, because this part is very serious and also very important. When you enter the US, immigration will give you an electronic record called a 194. On that record, there is an admit until date. This admit until date is the last day you are legally allowed to stay in the US. To get your bond refunded, you must leave the US on or before that date. Even one day late can mean that you will lose your money. You will also lose your bond if you overstay, if you refuse to leave, or if you now apply to change your status, which include applying for asylum or any other form of adjustment while inside the US. If any of those things happen, the bond will be forfeited, meaning you will not get back one amount from the money that you paid. According to the US official, the goal of this new policy is to ensure that people don't overstay in the US and that visitors and tourists and people going for business trip actually return back to their home countries in Africa. However, people are of the opinion that the amount for security deposits or bonds is very high. Imagine asking you to pay 5,000, 10,000 or even 15,000 USD. That's a lot. And people are now saying that the new policy will only favor politicians from Africa, wealthy businessmen and wealthy individuals, and not regular families who would love to go on vacation or visit their family members in the US. So in summary, yes, people from certain African countries can still apply for US visitors visa, but if approved, they may now be required to pay a large refundable bond to enter the US through specific airports and strictly follow all visa rules in order to get back their money. Now I want to hear from you. Do you think this policy is fair, or do you think that the US has indirectly made it very expensive for ordinary citizens to travel to the US? Do you also think it is time Africans get serious with building their continent? Let me hear what you think in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye.